Hello, everyone. Welcome to a very special RBY episode of The Nuts. I'm Hammer798, and for this special episode, I'm joined by two very special guests. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sablette, tier leader of all the RBY lower tiers until just a few days ago.
Hey, I'm Monster in 49 States. I'm a part of the council that replaced Sablette as the overseers of the RBY lower tiers.
Awesome. As many of you no doubt have heard, RBYNU has had a massive tier shift featuring now 9 water types in the tier. Let's start taking a look at what that looks like. Before we do that, Stablet, could you run us through exactly how tiering in RBY works?
Yeah, so our RBY runs on a viability ranking system since we obviously don't have ladders for most of these metagames and they're not super high activity even when we do. So what that means is basically we rank Pokemon based on their viability according to people who are playing the tiers in tournaments. And depending on how people rank them, anything at C rank or below drops the tier below. And if a Pokemon's getting used enough to get ranked at B or higher in a tier, it'll rise to that tier. The way we do it is RBYOU VRs every year just because that's what they've always done. And if something drops out of RBYOU, it can go to UU. And then the other tiers go on a every 2 years basis. So in 2026, like right at the start of this year, RBY, UU, and PU VR'd. At the start of next year, it'll be RBY, NU, and ZU. And the reason we do it like that is because we just don't get as many tournaments as current gen tiers. So like we don't have that much chance to experiment with the meta, really learn what works, and give things time to develop. So giving every tier 2 years to develop, giving them a little extra time after drops and rises, make sure that we can get decent handful of tournaments in before we start ranking Pokemon instead of just guessing at their viability after like 1 or 2 tournaments.
Perfect. Let's start taking a look at some of these drops, starting with a fossil, Omastar. What are your first thoughts on Omastar right now?
Omastar competes heavily with Kabutops, which is already an NU, and in NU right now there seems to be a lot more like bulky waters going around. So Omastar's stab options of just strong hydro pumps isn't that useful. Kabutops kind of does what Omastar does, but has Slash, which always crits in Gen 1, so it's effectively 140 base power. So Omastar competes, it's probably outclassed by Kabutops in most metrics, especially since Kabutops is faster as well. They'll be getting the speed drop on Vaporeon. Omastar doesn't do that. I don't expect Omastar to hang around in NU for long.
Yeah, I agree. The speed is the big one for me. Being slower than Vaporeon and even getting chased out by a resting Vaporeon is brutal.
Misses a lot of things, like misses Dewgong, misses Victory Bell as well.
55 speed is just brutal. Like honestly, I really like Omastar. I feel like it could almost do stuff. It's got Seismic Toss, which is pretty good against waters, if not for Vaporeon existing. But being slower than everything means you just never trade positively, so very sad.
Rip to the poor guy. Have fun in PU.
Nah, he's getting banned from PU immediately.
Next up, we have Electrode, which is absurdly fast, but has some issues with some of the other drops that we're seeing at the same time.
It hasn't been shown yet, but Golem also dropped, and so did Kadabra drop. As a result, Golem is on like pretty much every team because it's the strongest physical attacker that can't get paired by Thunder Wave. And this just kind of sucks for Electrode because he's completely walled in Gen 1 by Golem. Like, he only gets 3 good moves, none of them hit Golem, and Golem just switches in forever. Golem's a very great breaker as well, so just giving free turns away as Electrode is just really brutal. The speed tier is really nice, so there's a chance it does stick around, but just in the current meta right now, it's just not looking that great for it.
Electrode's really funny because it used to be NU, and the reason it went up to UU was when like Hypno and Lapras were banned. It was pretty good against a lot of the tier, like Articuno. It was faster than Dugtrio, so you could boom it. Just generally the bulk was lower, and there was like Tentacruel that it beat, Kadabra it could just explode on. So like now it came back down, but it came back down to a way more hostile NU. You mentioned Golem, but like Tangela dropped into the tier too, so there's just so many things that check it now. So it's just got so many things lined up against it, and it couldn't hang in UU anymore after UU unbanned Hypno and Lapras, which I didn't mention, but that's like the reason so many things dropped from UU, even though this metagame is ancient, is UU finally, tested Hypno and Lapras. It seems like they're going to stay in the tier, probably, although Hypno's up in the air. So now Electrode just can't hang up there, and I don't think it's going to do too well here with Tangela and Golem in the tier, and it just doesn't do enough damage to water types unless you crit either.
Yeah, it's kind of sad. Honestly, it's weird, but Magneton is stronger into the waters than Electrode is. So Electrode has that can boom and it's fast, but it does less damage most of the time.
It's kind of funny how all those slower guys like 65 speed and whatever else just made Magneton better when it used to be the opposite and Magneton was the super niche one.
Electrode doesn't even it does like 43 max, I think, to Vaporeon. I don't know if it gets the 2-hit KO on Dewgong though. That's I don't know about that one. It's just really weak, and the speed tier is nice, but there's just so much more going on in NU. Not just Tangela, but also Victory Bell, Venusaur, Execute's coming back as well. Like there's just so many more things that can stomach a hit from it. He's no longer the Terminator like he was in like the old NU.
I checked, it's 87% to 2-hit KO Dewgong, so it's not like that dire, but it's not so good against Omastar or Vaporeon because they've just got a lot more bulk.
It's tough out there.
Actually, wow, it actually does still 2-hit KO Omastar. It's just Vaporeon is just a tank.
Also, I don't know how much of this is comparable to old NU, but there's just a lot. Kadabra forces so many people to run Stun Spore and Thunder Wave on everything. And speed's a pretty big important part of Electrode. And if he gets paired, he's kind of not good at all. So you spend a lot of time switching out with Electrode.
Yeah, old NU did not have too much Thunder Wave. You had Mime and Venomoth on every team. There was Clefable as well, but Clefables tended to trade hits with each other and just end up both going down. And honestly, that happened a lot with the Mimes too. So a lot of times, you kind of had a Body Slam Trode and hope you got lucky and also hope it didn't crit you first. Or if you just had a Golem, then obviously you were set. But if you didn't, it was pretty easy for Trode to get away, especially if you ran a bunch of waters on your team to kind of check Charizard. Things like that.
Let's move on to another reason that Trode has some problems right now. That's Tangela. The only, I believe, pure grass type in RBY.
Tangela competes with the 3 other grasses, Venusaur, Victory Bell, and Execute. Victory Bell and Venusaur are a bit different since they actually do damage, since they have Stab Razor Leaf, which always crits in Gen 1. Tangela is relying on 40 base power Mega Drain. The big issue with Tangela is that it's the bulkiest of, not the bulkiest, but its typing and bulk makes it able to switch in a lot of things and get status off. But post sleep, it kind of just gets walled by a lot of waters. It doesn't do a lot of damage because of its 55 base attack, and paltry move pool as well. So it's a bit up in the air as to whether or not Tangela sticks in NU. It's probably going to hover around B-C for a very long time.
I could see it doing some stupid stuff with growth in certain games, but then you have to run a Tangela that can't do any damage unless you set it up. I don't even really think it competes with Venusaur or Victory Bell. I think it just does something entirely different because first off, it's slower than Vaporeon, which is going to be on almost every team. And second, just it actually has resistances since it doesn't have a poison type, but it also, like you said, doesn't do any damage. I think the thing about Tangela, you can send it into a Mr. Mime or a Kadabra and be relatively confident you're going to get sleep as long as you don't get psychic dropped or crit on entry. But obviously the other grasses can't really do that except for Execute. I think that's maybe a more apt comparison, but at least Execute has a couple of moves that do something resembling damage. Tangela just doesn't. But I do think it's nice to have consistent sleep, stun, and then you can use Swords Dance just to reapply para if you really want to.
Comparing Tangela to UU, I'd wager it's probably about as maybe it's better in UU as well, because in UU there's a lot more electrics that you have to be afraid of, and also Dugtrio is a major threat. So you can in UU you can just slap Tangela on a team and build around things that lose to electrics and Dugtrio. But in NU there really isn't a Terminator that you really need to be afraid of. That oh, I need to put Tangela on my team to enable this guy. That doesn't really exist in NU at the present moment, which kind of makes Tangela's role a bit more difficult to discern.
Yeah, I would say the only thing that even approaches that is Golem, which is pretty omnipresent right now. But if Tangela wants to hit Golem, it needs to run Mega Drain, and that makes its physical offense non-existent most of the time.
Well, you could also kind of just use it as come in on Golem, get sleep, and if they switched out, you get to sleep something that's faster than Tangela, and Golem can still be checked by a lot of things just because it's so slow. But I mean, if they stay in and tank the sleep, then Golem's not a threat anymore. And this is the only like actual Quake Slide resist kind of mon that there is. Like obviously nothing actually resists Quake Slide, but Tangela does it better than basically everything else, which gets destroyed by Earthquake on switch in, or it's like Charizard and then you get one-shotted by Rock Slide. I don't know. I think it has some defensive upsides. I think it's going to depend a lot on how good Golem stays, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think you can build some really solid Tangela teams, but I don't think it's going to be nearly as prevalent in the meta as some of these things we're going to look at going forward. Speaking of, let's talk about Dewgong.
Oh,
I like Dewgong. I think people are sleeping on this. What do you think, Wanted?
Yeah, go ahead.
One of the initially, like right now, there's kind of a general mood that people don't really like Dewgong that much because Vaporeon has like 110 special and like 130 health. It's just way bulkier on the special side. And Dewgong is only around like 15% stronger when you consider like Stab Blizzard in stuff. But like what do you have to they kind of do compete for the same slot. But Dewgong allows you to like run a bulky water that is one faster than Vaporeon and also can beat it 1v1. The onus is on the Vaporeon user to switch out if Dewgong comes in. And if you run Vaporeon, you don't really have that. It's kind of like both players may choose to like just never switch. Dewgong like just forces a response because eventually Vaporeon's gonna get frozen. Dewgong's also like just has a lot more, not move variety, but Blizzard is just so good. Just Stab Blizzard is so good. It does everything. It one-shots Fearow, it one-shots Golem. You don't need to run Surf for that. You might want to run it for Arcanine though, but just Dewgong hits crazy damage thresholds with Blizzard that Vaporeon doesn't. So a lot of things can just like switch into Vaporeon. Like Vaporeon Surf does like around it doesn't 2-hit KO Kadabra, but Dewgong just like hits way harder. Yeah, that's what I think the main takeaway is. This 5 extra speed that forces a Vaporeon response. Plus the strength is just so good.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem with Dewgong right now is that people aren't sure what the best set is. Some people are running sub Body Slam Ice Beam and just fishing for freezes. Some people are running Blizzard Surf, Body Slam Rest. Like, I think it's just a little unclear what the best way to use this is, and whether you can use it with stuff like Vaporeon on the same team at all.
I think it's hard to figure out how offensive the metagame is going to be because all these things that dropped, like, on face value look very defensive compared to what NU has had in the past. And that's not necessarily going to stay that way because RBY tiers are notoriously offensive with very little recovery, very little in the way of utility moves. So it's a little bit hard to say exactly what the right way to use these things are. I do think people sleep on Dewgong because they have like this obsession with stats, and Vaporeon has like stats that are over 100. So you look at that and go, whoa, those are really big. But like 95 special with Stab Blizzard is stupid amounts of damage. Wanted, you mentioned it's like 15% stronger than Vaporeon, but like that doesn't, I think percentages always miss that it doesn't really matter how much stronger you are, it matters how much faster you KO things, and Dewgong KOs things faster and also puts them in range of other things better, which just matters a lot. And I think honestly, like you can lead this and not hate matching up into a Mr. Mime just because Dewgong's bulk is like good enough and Stab Blizzard hits pretty hard. You obviously don't hate matching up into Charizard, and not much really switches into this. Like you have to run bad water types to have a good switch into this, or you're switching in a slower Vaporeon and hoping you don't get frozen and look for a chance for like Dewgong to click rest or something and then go to something else. But like Dewgong doesn't even have to run rest or do any of that. It's probably going to win these 1v1s anyway. I think it's like not amazing, but I think it's just really solid and will probably stick in the tier pretty well in the future.
Yeah, I find myself agreeing. I think going forward, I want to use Dewgong more than I have in the few games that I've played. I think it's definitely got some utility that we just haven't quite nailed down yet. Moving on, we have Tentacruel, which in some of the early tours looked monstrous. Just the speed and the power that it has are kind of crazy.
Oh, how the mighty have fallen. It's so funny to see this down here. It was number 1 in UU for a long time when we had Rap legal. And obviously Rap versus Hypno, Lapras, all these slow Pokemon meant that Tentacruel kind of just defined the speed of the metagame. but you take Wrap away and look what happens immediately.
The world is a hard place when you have to try to break a Lapras with a Tentacruel.
You mean when you have to actually attack it and not just click Wrap 30 times in a row?
I know. The good old days.
And then it seems to be doing fine. I think it'll stick around. It has Swords Dance. It has 100 speed and 120 special, which means it's on the lead. It has entry points on waters, so you can't just be passive with waters the entire game. It's a really effective breaker at breaking waters, and also on the lead. Like sometimes you just like run away with games with it, because no one wants to switch in their water, because Tentacruel clicks sub, and then you're kind of screwed, because now you can just boost up.
The sub
100
Swords
speed's
Dance
crazy.
sets. Yeah, so 100 speed for the non-RB wires watching this is the tie with Charizard, which is very fast for this tier. The only ones that outspeed it outright are Kadabra and Electrode.
Traditionally, 90 was considered kind of the baseline for the tier because of like Mr. Mime, Venomoth, guys like that. But now with Tentacruel and Kadabra dropping in, like suddenly those guys are really outpaced.
And unlike Vaporeon, Tentacruel can afford to run like Hydro Pump if you really wanted to, and it has 120 special. Like it gets some like really good like ranges on stuff. Like I think it's a roll to KO Charizard just outright. So it's a very volatile matchup if you really want to play that. I think it also just 2-hit KO, like it just flat out 2-hit KOs Mr. Mime. Like it's just really powerful. I think it has a like a 50-50 shot to 2-hit KO Kadabra as well. So like it can come, CAD can come in on entry, get crit immediately, and even if CAD comes in on entry, Tentacruel can like click Hyper Beam on the recover or like SD on the recover as well. So it's just like a very forcing mon. And like probably what's going to stop NU from just being like 5 waters clicking rest all day.
Yeah. The only thing that really
I
switches
actually-
into it. Yeah, go ahead, Seth.
I was just going to say I have the numbers on this because I remember doing the calcs on this, partly because I ran like Charizard and UU before and stuff like that. It's 90 to 106 point something on Charizard, so like just under a 50% to OHKO, but you also have crit odds, so it's probably a bit over 50. You do 2-hit KO Mime, and since you outspeed it, you can also just crit one-shot it. On Kadabra, it's like 46 to 54, and then Hyper Beam does like 57 to 67. So like pump into beam is always a kill. So Kadabra is kind of risking it. If you T-Wave, you can just get Hyper Beamed in the face and die immediately. So it's a bit of a gamble to just do that.
And like even like playing safe and clicking recover, like they can just like click Swords Dance, and then they can just like rip a Hyper Beam for free. Then just. It's a really difficult mon to play around, but it's not overbearing. Like 100 speed is just shy of Kadabra, and Kadabra picks up like a pretty good like KO range. Like I think it's like it easily 2-hit KOs Tentacruel, and also Electrode's in the tier as well. So it's not going to be like the number 1 or like even number 2 mon, but it's a really big threat.
We have
Yeah,
offensive
but
answers. Defensive answers are where we're lacking.
Yeah, because like you traditionally want to answer a water type with a water type. You don't like switching like grass types into them because obviously Blizzard messes them up. It's even worse because Tentacruel's poison type, so like Razor Leaf doesn't actually do that much. You're slower, it has 120 special Blizzard. So like there's not really defensive answers to waters in RBY besides other waters, and none of the waters want to fight Tentacruel because of Swords Dance. The best you can do is like running waters that are kind of like with Dewgong, like what I said before, like bad waters. Like Blastoise has Earthquake and it tanks Tentacruel pretty well, but then you have to run a Blastoise just to insulate yourself from Tentacruel. And if you're hard switching into it and it's clicking Swords Dance as you come in, like you're still not really happy about that.
Yeah, I think that about sums it up. Next up, we have Golem.
Another former RBY NU guy who has finally come back, kind of like Trode. It went up in a metagame where things were less bulky, you know, Tentacruel, Dugtrio, Kadabra used to rule UU, so Golem just obliterated all of them because of its ridiculous amount of damage. Plus there's a lot of electric types, but can't quite hang with the new power level, so right back down it comes.
I need to apologize to this guy in NU. I thought he wouldn't be as good as Nidoking, but just the ability, he doesn't get 2-hit KO'd by Kadabra ever, and the ability to just switch in, like if Kadabra takes a T-Wave and has to click T-Wave in response, Golem could just like come in and it's not that bad if you get side-kicked on entry. And it does a ton of like Earthquake off 110, like stab Earthquake off of 110 base attack is just really, really powerful. Like at 3 KOs Vaporeon, at 3 KOs like pretty much everyone that's like not Tangela. Rock Slide also like blows up anything that resists, that's immune to Earthquake. has boosters like trade out with anything. Just like so many buttons you can click, everything does damage. It's such a great breaker as well. A lot of like really slow teams that want to play the long game just kind of hate this guy a lot.
Golem is really lacking in a lot of the flaws that held Graveler back in the previous meta. It's fatter, it's stronger, it's a little bit faster, although that doesn't really matter. It's much harder to take advantage of, because if it crits you on entry, you are real trouble.
I remember being the #1 Graveler Glazer, but this guy is just so much better. Like 100 Graveler like was a roll to KO with the explosion versus like Venomoth and stuff. This guy does it easily. Like Golem's just way better.
Yeah, you both weren't here for old NU, but we used to do things like that. Like you'd go hard Golem early on a T-wave from Mr. Mime, and then you'd like boom and catch the Venomoth coming in and be like, haha, you don't get sleep this game, because a lot of people were running solo sleep or Venomoth for really lack of other options, especially after Poliwhirl got banned. But yeah, Golem, the thing that's really messed up about RBY is like some of the effects of some types and type combos just not existing is that like Quake Slide is basically impossible to switch into. You have like Tangela and Executor, and I guess Execute a little bit, kind of take both well, depending on what they're up against. But then like beyond that, basically everything that's immune to Earthquake gets one-shotted by Rock Slide or is just fully walled by Golem, or both. You've got Charizard and Fearow here to switch into Earthquake without taking damage. Fearow does literally nothing to Golem, so like congrats, you have to switch out again immediately or like play Mirror Move mind games. Charizard, like you can do okay damage with Fire Blast or Earthquake, but like they don't get even close to doing enough damage. You're doing like a 4-hit KO of damage and getting one-shotted by Rock Slide. So basically you just have to switch into these ridiculously powerful Earthquakes, and you go to your water type or whatever, and then Golem just switches out to a water type that takes 15% from your Surf or whatever after doing like 40 something to your water type as it comes in. It just does obscene damage.
On Execute resisting things, like Rock Slide, like I'm pretty sure that's a good roll to the 3 KO. I've seen it happen before in the wild. Like and also Golem is faster. So if Execute comes in at like 65%, Golem can just like click Rock Slide twice and not care about anything.
Yeah, I'm comparing it to like Graveler, where it tanks it a little bit better and it's faster. Like Execute does not tank Golem at all.
Yeah, this guy's a monster, and I expect him to see a lot of play going forward. There's a few things that we can do to try to take advantage of it a bit more. I think people need to predict more into it, and try to catch it coming in to get their sleep or whatever, or at least get a better matchup. But it does so much damage.
Also, just bring more Poliwrath and Tangela, so you actually have something resembling a rock resist. And even Earthquake, obviously, doesn't do very much to Poliwrath. So and if it booms, like you tank it relatively. I don't know. There's options, but people don't like building them because Poliwrath has a psychic problem and Tangela has a do no damage problem.
Our next guest is one we've talked about quite a bit today already. Vaporeon. This guy is kind of one of the defining mons of this new meta, I think. The special and the HP are just absurd. This guy is almost single-handedly making a more defensive metagame possible.
Yeah, a lot of the excitement around NU right now, is that we don't really have this in lower tiers historically. Like just defensive play in lower tiers have been kind of a meme for this entire like lifespan, and Vaporeon kind of like puts a bit of a question, like how much like defensive play is actually going to be viable in NU. No one really knows at the moment. So we have like a wide range of like things going on. We have like Acid Armor, like Ice Beam Vaporeon running around. We have stuff like Blizzard, Sand Attack, like Vaporeon's running around. No one knows how like offensive the tier is going to be because of Vaporeon, and it's just kind of anyone's guess. Personally, I'm leaning more towards the history winning out, in that lower tiers will continue to be like about as offensive, but Vaporeon might be the one that changes that. That's the question.
I mean, look at UU. It's gotten slightly more defensively playable because of Hypno and Lapras, although Hypno has its own problems. But I mean, Lapras honestly has brought some ability to play a little bit of defense into the tier. I think Vap's going to do that here too. I think the historical reason that RBY is so offensive is because UU kind of monopolized all these Pokemon like Vaporeon, Omastar, Dewgong, etc. into the tier. So then all the lower tiers are making do with just like the crappiest waters. Like water types are the defensive backbone in RBY because they're the only things that like can't really do damage to other waters for the most part, except for like Starmie, Staryu, etc. But like most of them actually add some bulk to the tier and don't get even like they don't get two-shotted by like random stray thunderbolts or anything. They don't have many weaknesses. And UU's just been hoarding them up till now. So I do think that these guys dropping is going to make tiers a bit more defensive, but it is still RBY. They're still speed-based crits, so there's limits.
There's also some like issues with Vaporeon taking over Blastoise's role as the bulky water. Vaporeon's a bit frailer on the defensive side despite everything. So Charizard can click Swords Dance, and if Vaporeon comes on entry, Earthquake into Hyper Beam just KOs it. I'm pretty sure it's a favored role. So it's going to it's not the be all end all. You need to run Astarm if you actually want to have a defensive piece, like a long-term defensive piece. Just like no one kind of knows what Vaporeon's future is. It's obviously going to be good, but as to how much it centralizes the meta around itself, it's kind of questionable.
Yeah, one of the big things about Vaporeon I want to point out is that it's only base 65 speed. It's slower than Poliwrath. It's slower than Venusaur and Victory Bell. It is faster than Tangela, but it's slower than every other sleeper in the meta. So it's sort of redefining what the necessary speed tier is in NUS.
Yeah, honestly, I am glad that these ridiculously bulky water types like Vaporeon and Lapras always end up being relatively slow, because if not, these tiers would just be hellish to play. But I think it works out, and I also think people maybe are disregarding a little bit too much of how offensive Vaporeon can be. It does have Hydro Pump at 110 special. That's almost as good as Tentacruel's. Obviously, like, you still have the Walled by Waters problem, but I don't know. I think people should try more offensive ideas with Vaporeon too and see if they can create some like less mirror matchy dynamics and just use the fact that it's bulky as hell to just throw gigantic hydro pumps at non-waters after trading other waters to deal with Vaporeon on the opposing side.
Yeah, my absolute nightmares of this tier ends in Vaporeons clicking Body Slam into each other forever. Like, please, people, do not do that. Please find another way.
Please bring Poliwrath, please bring Dewgong, please use your Vaporeon with Hydro Pump.
Also, I'm a bit radicalized. I think Ice Beam Vaporeon is just like really bad. Please don't use it. It like doesn't do damage.
Thank you. The fact that people can click Substitute with Vaporeon in this tier is indicative that people need to change how they're playing. That should not happen.
Oh, we have one more drop to talk about, and it's the big man himself, the new really fastest guy, because we don't expect Electrode to see a ton of play. So this speed tier is really the definitive one. Faster than Charizard, faster than Fearow, faster than Tentacruel.
And Rapidash got banned because it rose to UU, so that's one less guy you can just throw in to beat up Kadabra.
Maybe Scyther comes back, who knows?
Scyther does speed tie.
It's true. But the much maligned Kadabra, he's dropped from UU. Tentacruel, Hypno being unbanned in UU kind of sucks. Obviously, he does nothing to Hypno really apart from seismic tossing, but he gets T-waved and just is useless. And historically, he's been used to check Tentacruel as well. And now that Tentacruel is also washed, Kadabra is just dropped to NU. And people, it seems like there's a bit of difficulty playing around him, because a lot of times people just like trade T-waves on Kadabra and like no one just switches out. And they just sit there forever. And a lot of times it's also like a builder issue. Like they have like Magneton, Electrode, Vaporeon, and like Dewgong and a Kadabra versus like Kadabra, and they can't break it because they have no physical attackers. I feel like Kadabra, the big thing that Kadabra is going to do is, one, it's going to jack up speed tiers a bit. So the game-ending like Charizard sweeps won't happen anymore because Kadabra can stop that. Two, it's going to push a lot more things to physical offense. Like I mentioned this with Omastar. Kabutops is way better than Omastar, probably because of Kadabra. Just having the ability to do damage to Kadabra because he has 40-30 physical defense is just way more powerful. So a lot of special attackers like compete for kind of similar slots, I feel, because of Kadabra.
Yeah, we kind of talked about right before this the Kadabra effect, where whatever tier it's in, people just start throwing Slam Beam on random Pokemon because anything can Slam Beam Kadabra and it's almost certainly going to die. So like In UU, it already worked out that Dewgong and Vaporeon were body slamming Kadabra for like a solid third of its HP and paralysis chance. They can still fight it here, but it does seem like people are usually content to just trade the T-Waves. And once Kadabra's T-Waved, it kind of just stops being a threat instantly because the speed is the only reason it's so scary. Once it's T-Waved, literally everything with a physical attack threatens it out immediately, or just revenge kills it if the other Kadabra ends up winning in a fight with your Kadabra. But like, I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see what's going to happen longer term, because we used to see Mr. Mimes always T-Wave each other and Seismic Toss down, and then something else would come in and revenge kill the one that lost the speed tie or paralyzed more. And I feel like Kadabra can do more than that, because like you said, it's faster than Charizard. Like, it has a lot of things that you actually want it to outspeed in this tier, Tentacruel, Charizard being a couple of the really big ones. It's like you don't want to trade that, but it's also really hard to answer opposing Kadabra in any other way. Even if with your Mr. Mime, like, it doesn't have recovery, it's also really frail, so it doesn't really stick around. So it's tricky, but I think people will get better at dealing with this and maybe use more water types versus Kadabra and create some more uneven matchups.
Yeah, I will say you called out the Mr. Mime matchup from the pre-shift meta. If you got away with your Mime without being paralyzed in that mirror before, whether you fought off with Moltres or something else, you were in a good position, I would say. But that Mime wasn't in a position to win you the game a lot of the time. It put you in a good position, but it wasn't game winning a lot of the time. A healthy Kadabra is game winning in a lot of endgames. Just being able to outspeed and sweep everything.
Yeah, scary Pokemon, but I do think people will get better at using more, just like piling on more water types, but in ways that don't make you instantly lose to Electrode or what have you, since it's really easy to stop the obvious water problems.
Yeah.
And I think they'll figure out how to use this better. Like, you can also use Tangela to come into Kadabra, force it out with like the threat of sleep.
I think we mentioned when we were talking about Golem that if you predict a T-Wave from it, you can switch Golem into Kadabra and you immediately threaten it out.
Yeah, and you tank Psychic, but it is scary because if you get dropped on entry or if either one crits, then you're screwed. But if you come in on a T-Wave, you're very safe. Crit, Psychic only KOs on like one roll at best. I'm not even sure it does. I know that normal Psychic does like 43 to 51. So you can get to it KO'd by Psychic, but it's like a 5% chance without crits or drops. The problem is Psychic crits and drops kind of a lot. So it's like very scary to come in on.
Yeah, with how fast Kadabra is, the crit rate is something like, what, 20%? Close to that?
A bit higher, yeah.
A bit higher, yeah. And then
crit plus drop chance is just like basically 50%, so you're really playing with fire.
So we've discussed
Kadabra's-
Yeah, go ahead.
Kadabra's also like, he spends a lot of games just like running away from people with Thunder Wave and Stun Spore. Like I've seen him like be scared up by like Venomoth before. It's like, if he gets paralyzed, he's just so bad. Like the calcs are like, for RBY people, this is like, these are just truly crazy calcs. Like Hyper Beam from Raticate just like does like 96 minimum. Golem can do like 90% with Earthquake. Like Kabutop's like easily 2 kills with Slash. Like a bunch of just random mons. Like I've seen like Body Slam, Hyper Beam, Poliwrath was like 85 attack in this tier. I've seen Hyper Beam Dewgong as well. Just like so many guys are just running the move just to screw over this guy if he gets paralyzed. So he's just spending a lot of games just like running away.
Realize your opponent's Kadabra, and things will go well for you. So now we've talked about all the drops. Well, let's check in with the guys who are already down in NU and how they're doing with everything that's happened to them. Let's talk about some of these guys who are doing better now, who are quite happy with these drops. They don't mind it, and in some cases are even better than they used to be. And the big one is Wanted's favorite guy, Raticate.
I love him. He has Super Fang. It's on like every set now. I don't know if it's gonna stick around, but because everything's gotten more bulky, people have kind of predicted that more bulky and also more like walls, like with Golem and Tangela. People have predicted that Super Fang is gonna be a really big deal, and Raticate has Super Fang. It's basically unwallable, and in a meta where there's more stops, more switch-ins, being unwallable is just way more valuable. It also gets the really good rolls with Hyper Beam on a lot of guys as well.
Yeah, Raticate is scary, but I do think people are undervaluing a problem that Raticate has had in every single NU metagame, which is Zard comes in for free after Raticate gets a KO and it clicks Swords Dance, and not many things can handle +2 Zard if it gets the free setup turn. and you don't want to stay in with Raticate and body slam it and pray, it's not as big of a deal now because you have Kadabra. So like you can just, if you slam it, Kadabra can like come in and finish up afterward as long as you do enough damage. I actually don't know off the top of my head how much Kadabra does to Charizard. I'm actually gonna look at that as I'm saying this. It does 33.9 to 40.1 with Psychic. So like even then it's scary with Raticate because you can't just Super Fang it into Kadabra range. In Body Slam, if you don't get a para or a crit, you're gonna like do nothing. So it's a little bit, I think it's a little scary using Raticate once your waters are chipped at all, or if you're like your only water is Vaporeon, because like you mentioned, Zard can 2-hit KO it at +2. It can get scary pretty quickly, but it's definitely a better meta for Raticate now that there's like more bulk, because now the threshold for where Charizard comes in and clicks Swords Dance and sweeps is higher than it used to be by quite a bit. But I do think people are just not respecting that enough, that Zard completely eats Raticate alive.
Yeah, there's a lot of Charizard disrespect going on, like in general. I haven't seen much of it because, you know, like on paper, oh, there's 5 more waters. Why would I use that guy? You know.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it will equalize. The rat population will eventually be reduced. But for now, for now it's a really good mon.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Next one, we mentioned Poliwrath a bit when we were talking about Vaporeon. Being faster and completely walling it is awesome. Poliwrath loves that. And people have been trying it in a lot of different ways. I've seen some more Amnesia Poliwrath recently, which I'm not sure is good, but it's fun to see people experiment with it. This meta slowing down is really nice for Poliwrath.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like a lot of things have like surprisingly, even though Kadabra's in the tier now, things have like surprisingly went well for Poliwrath. Like for one, like the Raticate issue of it, I mean the Charizard issue, who just clicks Swords Dance and like gets 2 kills on everything. Poliwrath is one of the few Pokemon that just doesn't care about that. He can switch into +2. He eats a +2 Earthquake into Hyper Beam. So he's one of the very few like actual like Zard switch-ins at least once. He also just like helps a lot with early game lines. Like Arcanine might be back because Mr. Mime is in the lead quite often, and like just helping, like he did this in the previous meta, but having good early game lines is really nice. And also just like a lot of just confusion as to like what should you even be running on Poliwrath makes him a bit more unpredictable. Like I've seen like just all out physical attackers. I've seen like Amnesia. I've seen like Stoss and Counter. Like there's just so many things you can run on him, and no one knows what's good because he's kind of like a Surf plus Amnesia bot at the end of the day. I mean Surf plus some Hypnosis.
I think it's possible that it's just all those things are good. I kind of predicted this before with Vaporeon dropping in. I was like, well, Poliwrath is faster and resists everything that it can do, and it has Hypnosis, it has Seismic Toss, it has like decent spread of moves with Surf, Blizzard, Earthquake, Psychic, Amnesia. Like it's fairly unpredictable, and it can also just be adapted to handle different things. Amnesia also means like if you try to sack something into it or like send something paralyzed to not take Hypnosis and it clicks Amnesia, now you're suddenly in a lot of trouble. Like it has a lot of unpredictability to it. Amnesia minimizes its worst weakness as long as you're lucky and not bad, I guess. And just the fact that it also like has respectable physical attack means, like you mentioned, body slamming Kadabra on entry or Mr. Mime is fairly threatening. Like it almost suffers from having too many options, so people aren't sure what to do with it. But the options it has are good, and its speed tier has gone from being like the worst speed tier in NU and the biggest problem with using it to like now you outspeed Vaporeon, you're faster than Tangela, you're faster than Golem. And now that Golem is in the tier, like suddenly that rock resist plus decently tanking Earthquake is a much more valuable trait than when you were dealing with Graveler, who was still like a pretty damaging guy, but it's not anything like Golem. So I think just everything has pretty much conspired to make Poliwrath better, except for Kadabra dropping into the tier.
Yeah, these next two I consider kind of a match set. Victreebel, Venusaur are very similar mons in almost every way. The main difference is Venusaur is a little bit faster and Victreebel has Stun Spore. But I think Razor Leaf has a lot of potential in this meta, just the way people have been resting their waters, and these guys just chase them out immediately, and they get sleep.
I'd like to note that Victreebel, before the tier shifts, he was I don't think he was even ranked in the previous BR. Just like he was completely washed up because 70 speed was just like unusable. But now 70 is like pretty good with Vaporeon on the tier, Victreebel on the tier, but I mean Golem in the tier, but also just like the landscape has changed a bit. Charizard isn't as ubiquitous, and Raticate being here, not Fearow. Fearow is not that common. It means that like Razor Leaf is like good stab, like it feels good to use. But like this happens every time, to be honest, where like grass on paper always seems like to be a good stab option, but you know, you always run into like stuff like Venomoth and like Charizard and Arcanine. It's just all the Razor Leaf grassers, all the grass types are kind of difficult to analyze in terms of like where they will end up.
Yeah, I think it doesn't help that they don't really have much threat outside of Razor Leaf, so you don't ever really feel that bad going to Charizard or whatever, because they just have to fish for like a really weak 30% body slam to really impede things like Charizard, Venomoth, etc. One thing I do think is worth noting, Venusaur usually tanks Raticate, Super Fang into Hyper Beam, and Victory Bell literally never does. It's 44 to 52 from Hyper Beam onto Venusaur, which is not very good odds to KO it after a Super Fang, but Victory Bell will just fold in half. So like between that and Victory Bell's speed tier being worse, like you tie with Poliwrath, which isn't a huge deal, but it is something. I kind of favor Venusaur, which is weird because it's like I always have valued Stun Spore a lot more. But then if you're going to bring a Stun Spore user, like why not just bring Venomoth at that point instead of Victory Bell? I don't have much confidence in Victory Bell, but I think Venusaur could have a niche on some teams.
Yeah, I personally agree. And you do mention Venomoth there, which is our next guy, which, as it always has, it loves to come in on waters and click Sleep Powder. That's its thing, and it'll do that until the sun burns out.
Moth that I hate. I hate this Pokemon, but like I have to admit, it's always been good in NU, pretty much in every single iteration. And I don't think that's going to change when you add a bunch more water types that are slower than it. Adding Kadabra doesn't really change the equation because you already had this problem of switching out of Charizard, Moltres, Arcanine, Mr. Mime before this anyway. So like one more isn't going to make a big difference. Tentacruel maybe changes the equation slightly, but even then, just I think there's so many slow waters that Venomoth is always going to prey on.
Like even Venomoth is just uniquely adapted to NU tiers in some way. Just like Bug Poison is just simultaneously like a really bad typing, but like just gets the job done. No Blizzard weakness. And also just like barely bulky enough to like do a lot of things that are like shouldn't be able to do like on paper. Like it could scare out a +2 Charizard because Hyper Beam doesn't KO and so doesn't Fire Blast. It can not switch into, but it can scare out a Tentacruel behind sub because it's not being killed by anything from there.
I do think one thing that's pretty bad for it is Tentacruel does have a solid roll to hit KO it with Hydro Pump.
Oh
so
yeah, that's
crit. It's like it's the same as Kadabra. It's like 46 to 54 or something like that.
33%. So. Yeah, 33% to crit KO. I mean that's made it seem like a small amount, but like that's a 20%. So that's a 7% chance. So like a 5% chance with Hydro Pump accuracy that you just get like sent to the moon. Like, and you also have to hit a powder as well. So you know it's not as
yeah. Hydro's more accurate than powder, so
yeah.
Our next guy up here is yeah. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't think it changes the equation that much, and I think it probably matters more that you know Vaporeon, Dewgong, guys like this exist now, so there's just more Venomoth targets than ever. But I do think people need to respect that a little bit and not just go like, oh, Venomoth will get sleep every single game.
Yeah, I think we've come, like we mentioned before, a lot of stuff is running paralysis in this meta. People are getting paralyzed with Body Slam. There's a much higher chance that you're getting sleep blocked now, I think.
Yeah, especially with the popularity of a Mime lead. Sometimes like Mime, he's really frail. Sometimes he gets T-Wave and just dies. And then you just can't get sleep.
Yeah, I've been thinking a bit about the Charizard lead matchup for Mime, where you click T-Wave because it's faster than you. But now that thing just blocks sleep forever. Like, the Charizard doesn't need to stay in and trade with you anymore.
Mm-hmm. We had this debate in like several previous iterations of NU, and there were times that people were intentionally taking T-Wave turn 1 with Zard and then switching out after like hitting Mime for 40 and then just fighting it from there with whatever else. So like this isn't a new idea, but I do think like you mentioned, maybe it's a little bit more viable in this metagame because it's a little bit easier to switch. And it used to be pretty hard to switch. Like you had to be pretty on point with predictions to not just take a lot of unnecessary damage and get owned.
The next guy we have on our list here is one of my absolute favorites. I love Kabutops right now. I think it's genuinely incredible into the meta as it looks like right now.
Yeah, I mean, like with Venomoth, right? Like you prey on all these slower things. So Kabutops is happy that the speeds are more polarized than they used to be. Like really before NU used to be really centered around the 90 speed tier, and it was either you're below 90 and you are Venomoth food forever, and Mime food to a large extent, or you were 90 or above and then you were like playing with the big boys speed wise. But like Kabutops now actually outspeeds things besides just Poliwrath, and that's pretty cool for it, especially with Swords Dance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's somewhat like Golem, but with more of a speed tier. Like Slash always crits in RBY, so at least on Kabutops. And he hits really hard, like almost as hard as Golem. It's slightly off, but just like doing physical attacks is in fact really good because it does a lot of damage in the Kadabra tier.
Yeah, you 3-hit KO Vaporeon, so you chase it out if it has to rest on something else. You do so much to Kadabra. Depending on the rat set, you wall it a lot of the time if they drop T-Bolt, which a lot of them are right now for Super Fang. And it just makes so
I
much
think also
progress.
just like greedy water sets, like on Dewgong and stuff,
Yeah.
are very good opportunities for Kabutops.
A lot of Dugongs are
tried-
dropping Surf.
Yeah, I tried something like this in UU at one point with Kabutops where it like, I don't remember what I ran anymore, but I think I had Substitute on it or something like that. And I also tried this in Ubers at one point and it almost worked. I just got unlucky. But like Kabutops has this weird thing where because of its typing and Swords Dance, in metagames with a lot of paralysis or with a lot of slow waters, you can actually kind of cheese setup opportunities out of it and then just do a lot of damage. So like in Ubers, it was Executor, Chansey, Snorlax, all these like greedy sets on things like Mew that couldn't hit it. But here it's just like all the water types just can't do that much damage. And then greedy Dewgong sets, things like that, greedy Eradicate sets, greedy Poliwrath sets. Like there's a lot of opportunities for it to set up on things that can only 3-hit KO it at best, if they can even do that.
Yeah, I think we'll see if... I think the main things that could possibly hold Kabutops back going forward is if things like Venusaur do get a big place in the meta. Because obviously Razor Leaf destroys it. If we see Raticates running Thunderbolt more often, if the Electrics get to see play somehow. Like, there are things that check Kabutops, but right now, a lot of them aren't viable. People just aren't running them.
Or people could protect their Mimes and Kadabras instead of throwing the Mime in lead and trading paralysis on the Kadabra right away, which I think also contributes to what makes Kabutops a lot scarier, is these faster things that two-shot it just getting traded away really fast.
The last thing we've got listed here is one that may not last in the winners column much longer, but it's worth mentioning because people have been trying them out as a Kadabra check, are the NFE Psychics. We've been seeing some Execute, we've been seeing some Slowpoke. I saw Drowsy. I can't tell you if this is going to be good long term, but in the moment they're checked Kadabra, and at least two of those have Sleep, and the other one has T-Wave, which is going to be pretty good, click into pretty much anything.
I'm putting my foot down right now on this one because people, every metagame, every time we get a bunch of drops in a metagame, people are like, oh my gosh, Drowsy, oh my gosh, Execute, whatever. And like, no. Drowsy, Execute are barely hanging on to relevance in PU, and of course every tier is different. There's certain conditions in metagames that make things better or worse, blah, blah, blah. But every single time, I swear, every new metagame of NU, PU, ZU, even UU, people are like, oh, is this the metagame where Execute is good? They tried it in UU and that guy was nothing. Mars played Drowsy in UU to check like Kadabra specifically, and it's like, okay, it can do that, but so can other guys. I think it's like new meta syndrome where people go break out all the old stuff and go, wait, this resists a type that is always in the game. Everyone has a Kadabra, right? So let's just bring a Psychic type. I don't think it's very good. I think you can use it, you can win, but like people win in OU bringing Haunter. That doesn't mean that Haunter is an OU Pokemon.
I just like to point out that like a lot of these guys are like really, really frail. Like being an NFB means you have like no stats. Like Blizzard, like Rat Blizzard can just send Execute to the moon. Just like any water does like at least like 75% with their Blizzard. So if you miss Powder, you're just dead. Like Drowsy gets 2-hit killed by like pretty much every physical attacker. Kabutops as a Golem does it. I know Rat Beam. I'm pretty sure Slam Beam from Rat does it as well. It's just like they just don't have stats.
And just like they're so frail that any crit will just end them as well. Like Charizard at +2 kills all these guys as well. So like if they're in the back and you didn't get a chance to use them early, congratulations on getting farmed by Charizard later for free because you don't have bulky Pokemon on your team. Like all these guys, I think the problem is they check one or two things specifically. And sure, those things might be really common, but then you get revenge killed by everything, and switching out of guys like Raticate so that you can preserve your Execute or whatever is a nightmare. And if you lose them for free, if you get double switched on once, like I think a lot of these guys thrive on everyone in a new metagame not double switching more because they're like still figuring the metagame out. And then people remember, oh right, I can double switch, and then all of any attempt to use these like crappy NFEs just gets farmed.
It's also like really slow. Like these are the guys that Golem out speeds, man. Like they just do a ton of damage. Like it's more like you can use them, yeah, and like you can win, but like anything with status, kind of like they have status. So there's a floor to how bad they can be. That's like artificially giving them the illusion of being more viable than they are.
I think like when you skill diff people, you can make a lot of Pokemon look good, and some people are going to hear this and take this as a challenge, but you could also just do better using a better Pokemon.
Maris Bonneville, I'm talking to you right now. Do not bring Slowpoke.
Literally exactly what I was thinking.
We've talked about the guys that are working well in the new meta. Let's talk about the mons from Old NU, who are honestly really sad. And the big two are really Blastoise and Seadra, I think. These guys were central to the old meta, and now they're gone.
Hot take, I don't think Blastoise is as bad as people are thinking. Like, I don't think it's gonna stick in NU, but like it surely sticks as a C rank, right? Like you've got Earthquake, which means that you can hit electric types. It means that you can, I don't know, like you've got options with Blastoise. It's a pretty physically bulky guy. It's the most physically bulky water in the tier still. It's a little bit bulkier than Poliwrath.
Oh no, Poliwrath is bulkier.
Are you sure? They're close, that's for sure. I'm pretty
I know
sure that
Blastoise has a 25% roll to get killed from +2 EQ to Hyper Beam, but I know Poliwrath has like a 10% roll.
Okay, I'm spreading misinfo. No, I checked. Blastoise has a little bit less HP. Okay, it's the second bulkiest guy, but it also isn't weak to Psychic, and that matters. Like I think
better stats.
I think people. It also it does outpace both Poliwrath and Vaporeon in a 1v1, because even though Seismic Toss doesn't do that much to Vaporeon because of how much HP it has, Vaporeon doesn't do very much back either, and you're faster than Wrath. Like, I don't know. I think people are underrating the fact that just coming in and clicking Seismic Toss is still like a real option when you have some real bulk like Blastoise. And like the speed is something. It's not terrible.
Seen a Toxin Boost set. I don't know if it's Toxin Boost, but I've seen a Tail Whip Earthquake.
That is a Toxin Boost special.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
I mean, it does break Vaporeon.
Yeah, I will say that I think the reason Toxin started using that was because everyone was bringing Porygon into him, and he really wanted to break it.
Yeah.
But I think it works pretty well for Vaporeon as well. Just, I think it's harder to fit now, because everyone wants to run Vaporeon, everyone wants to run Dewgong. Poliwrath is one of the better sleepers, I think. And it's hard to make Blastoise fit in that environment.
Yeah. Like all the waters, like Golduck isn't on this list because he was technically PU, but like in the last VR for NU, he would have snuck in but all the waters are a bit broker now because Vaporeon, Dewgong dropping, Tentacruel dropping. Obviously they face way more competition and aren't able to compete as well.
Yeah, it's hard to want to fit Blastoise on your team because it doesn't do any of the specific things. Like, it's not a sleeper. It's not just like, it doesn't have the ridiculous HP of Vaporeon that renders it like immune to clicking Seismic Toss or whatever else on it. Like it doesn't have the sheer special bulk of Vaporeon either. But like, I do think people are sleeping on it just a little bit. Like I said, I'm not like I called it a bad water earlier, and I'll stand by the fact that it's like a C rank, but it has some stuff. I think people shouldn't give up on it immediately, and I think there's some team structures where it actually does okay. Seadra, though, I don't think agility waters do anything anymore here.
Oh, honestly, I can see it sticking around as a C rank. Like in the games I've been playing, like things have been progressively getting faster and faster and faster. And I don't know, maybe in the future there's just going to be like one water on each team, and in which case Seadra like maybe can do stuff. Like I don't think it's going to stick around, but I can see it swimming in the margins of NU for this metagame.
I think you could maybe use it into teams into like a scout that has Vaporeon as the only water on a bunch of stuff, where if you break the Vaporeon, then Seadra can do things. But Vaporeon and Kadabra are both kind of big problems for it, because even if you slap Beam on there, you're not breaking Kadabra.
I've seen some really silly sets like Rest Smokescreen to break through a lot of waters. It's I don't know if I don't think it's gonna stick around, but it's an option.
Well, Smokescreen doesn't really break through is the thing, right? Like you're not really getting any progress out of it.
Yeah.
You are sitting on things, but you're not like making any progress versus them. There's not really any threat. I definitely like I can see what you're talking about with like in a more offensive metagame. Like if people figure out how to use their Charizard better, if Golem keeps staying used, but people aren't like using more water types in response to that. Like Seadra can do what it did in old NU, where it just if you don't have a water type, then like you are dead. But I just don't see it developing that way. I think it's always going to be niche, but C rank doesn't sound unreasonable for it. I think there are probably going to be people who are going to be like very contrarian about what they bring and try to minimize how many waters they bring in and get owned by Seadra over and over until they fix that. But we'll have to see,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like a big issue is a Tentacruel as well. It's you don't want to
Mhm.
face the Tentacruel with Seadra.
Yeah, you used to be able to like if you just crit your hydro pumps or whatever, you could beat anything. Like you could crit past Mime, Rat, whoever, and win even when you really shouldn't, even in like a 1v4. But like with Tentacruel, Kadabra, stuff like that around, it's so much harder to do that now.
Like the only time I've seen Seadra where two brings from Riss, and she brought Rest Smokescreen, and I think like Smokescreen's kind of like a recession indicator for like a Mon in a metagame.
Excellent. Another recession indicator is when you can lead Poliwhirl. Thankfully, we were out of that recession. Poliwhirl was a real gambling mon in the previous meta, where if you hit your Hypnosis turn 1, it could kind of just win the game in a lot of situations. It cannot do this anymore. If you hit your Hypnosis turn 1, Vaporeon just comes in, and you're done.
It really tells you something about how NU used to be, that this guy managed to be NUBL when we had Golduck and Poliwrath and Raichu on the BL. Like, gambling merchant. I hated this guy back then, but even like prior meta, it had a lot of problems because of the speed. And I think it's not gonna look good here with Kadabra, Tentacruel, guys like that. Again, just like the speed, like as much as there's a bunch of slower waters that obviously you can just come in and click Hypnosis on, Poliwrath can do that as well. And Poliwrath, I'd say despite the fighting type, has a lot of other ups going for it. Like Poliwhirl really is a fraud that gets by on Amnesia because it doesn't have any stats. It's so frail. Like Charizard can 1v1 this thing unless you hit 2 Hydro Pumps on it. It's just the stats are horrific. It's skating by on Hypnosis Amnesia BS, which is just not very good. And you don't have to do that kind of gambling anymore in this tier because you can slow it down with other water types like Poliwrath.
I think Kadabra Psychic Crit just Okos it. It's just gone.
I wouldn't be shocked at all because Mime T-Bolt Crit did the same thing.
Yeah, Rat like also does just like 60 to it. So like if you miss Hypnosis and take a Body Slam, like you might just be put in range of like Rat Beam. And also like if you get Body Slam paired, it's like it's just over. It's over.
Or if you just switch Rat in after it hits Hypnosis as it clicks Amnesia, or if it clicks some attack for basically no damage, you still 1v1 it anyway.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure +2 Hydro Pump just doesn't KO Rat. It's just short.
Yeah.
I am almost sure that you're right, but I'm actually going to calc it right now because I want to know. Yeah, it doesn't get there. It gets 48.8 max from a single hit. So +2 doesn't get there, crit doesn't get there.
This guy's a fraud. He's gonna be like C- on the VR, but he's not gonna be good. That's my take.
Someone's going to try to cheese with it for sure, but it's never going to be a good Pokemon.
Yeah. Speaking of, Aerodactyl was completely ass last meta. You shouldn't have used it. No one should have used it. And it's even worse now.
Yeah, it shouldn't even be NU, but like the 2-year VR cycle, the downside is we have to wait for obvious frauds to drop, but
Yeah.
Arrow had nothing, and it has nothing even more when there's more water types in the tier
And
that
Golem.
actually have bulk. And Golem.
Oh yeah, Golem. It's like everyone kind of beats him. Like everyone does actually. Like Golem beats him, Electrode beats him, all the waters beat him, Mime beats him. Like, does Rat even like? I'm pretty sure Rat beats him as well. Like, 'cause you don't want to switch
Mime
him to
doesn't beat Arrow. Hold on, Mime doesn't beat
And you
Arrow.
take T-Wave. No, you just take.
There is a GIF that says Arrow does beat Mime.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Like I remember what was it? The Arrow hyper beaming into a paralyzed Mr. Mime. It did like 57 and didn't KO.
And the Mr. Mime paralyzed repeatedly. But just like what I'm getting at with this is like Arrow's one thing that it does have is it has always been good against things that are fast but frail. I used to use it in UU, and like back when the metagame was Tentacruel plus Dugtrio plus Kadabra, and that guy like farmed those guys because they aren't bulky and they're relying on their speed, but they're outsped by Arrow. So like here, the thing that it has is like it's okay in the Mime, and it obviously does a ton of damage to Kadabra and is faster than it. But it's just that's not enough when anything switches into your non-stab attacks and doesn't really take that much damage unless you crit over and over.
Like I don't think Arrow's that good because he has like no entry points, and also like if it's Mime versus Aerodactyl, Mime might just stay and click T-Wave and then switch to like a water type. Like T-Wave kills Aerodactyl really. He is really reliant on his speed to do anything. It's like Charizard's also less prevalent as well. I don't know how long that'll last, but it just like there's not a lot of things you can do with just Kabutops is right there. You know, Kabutops is right there.
Yeah, when Fira was more prevalent, that was good too. But now like Fira was not looking great, as we'll get to in a minute, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just it lost the entry points because Firo was really the nicest entry point, I think, and that's completely not a factor anymore when you don't do any damage compared to how much it used to. At least like it used to do an okay amount of damage on old NU, and okay is overstating it even. So like now it's horrible.
Stuff is just too bulky now. You can't do anything. These last two are not in quite as dire straits as stuff like Poliwhirl and Aerodactyl is. Like they're more in Blastoise's boat, where there's still a place for them, but they're significantly less effective than they used to be.
For Firo, the big issue is that like he's really frail. Like a lot of things just get to him. Like Dewgong, that Blizzard just like sends him, just Okos him. I'm pretty sure it's a roll, but you don't want to stain on that. He's also not the fastest thing around anymore. Kadabra outspeeds. Golem's everywhere as well. Like Golem's a pretty big issue as well. Electrodes hanging around in the tier. Tentacruel speed ties. It's just like what made Firo so good was that he was the fastest Mon with a really strong Hyper Beam that got a lot of KO ranges. And like now the world has changed around him, and there's a lot less reason to use him.
Yeah, Dewgong one-shots Firo every single time, by the way, with Blizzard. It's a minimum of 101.
Oh.
So between that and Golem coming back, who you actually want to use as opposed to Graveler, who you used because you had to stop Magneton or Firo or both, I don't know. I actually think Firo might even be a bigger loser here than Blastoise when everything kind of shakes out. Because, like, you lost everything. Kadabra outspeeds it. Tentacruel, like, yes, the 1v1 is a bit of a toss-up, but it's, like, worse than Dodrio versus Tentacruel is in UU, where Dodrio at least had paralyzed chances on Tentacruel.
I mean, how much does Blizzard do?
Blizzard is 2-hit KOing it very easily. It does like minimum around 80 because that's what it does to Dodrio.
You could do that 20% to yourself double edge recoil.
Yeah.
You know? Like
yeah, but
just like
I mean
bad.
you can put yourself in Blizzard range with double edge if the Blizzard high rolls, but also I'm pretty sure so like Dodrio's Slam Beam does KO Tentacruel consistently. I'm pretty sure that Firo just doesn't because it has 20 less attack. I think it maxes out at like 105, so it's like probably 90 to 105. So like now you're like this bird loses to Tentacruel instead of going even with it like Dodrio. It's just there's so many ways you can beat it offensively in addition to the fact that now it's got big defensive problems like Golem that just switch in and exploit it forever.
And it's just like also the tiers just changed. Like Mr. Mime's not on every team anymore. Venomoth is not the top 3 anymore. Like just like there's not many things it beats that's remaining.
Yeah, like you still beat Poliwrath, but you don't if that Poliwrath is backed by a Golem, and you don't really beat Vaporeon as hard as you'd like to, considering how much damage you take back. You obviously get destroyed by Dewgong. Just like the whole tier has been uprooted, and I think just it's suffering too much on the offensive and defensive sides now.
It's a hard world to be a bird. Let's talk about Arcanine. I think just off the rip, Fire Spam isn't quite as good anymore. Obviously the the incredible amount of waters we have now make it a little tougher.
Honestly, I'm a bit of a contrarian on this. I think
Yeah.
in old NU, I think Arcanine was like really close to being a fraud. Like I wouldn't call him a fraud in old NU, but Arcanine was really close to it. But I think in NU he has the sauce because Mime Lead is back. Mime Lead is actually back, so you can lead it. And also Dewgong, you're seeing a couple teams pop up with Dewgong over Vaporeon. So like you have just teams with like no Fire Blast switch in, which didn't happen at all in old NU. Just like I feel like there's a world where Arcanine actually sticks around in NU. I feel it's possible.
I don't think it ever sticks around, but I think it could pretty solidly be like on the higher end of C rank. It's so weird at RBY how all the fires, like they don't beat water types, but they hit them for enough damage that you're never that sad about having an expendable fire type. Like it's kind of messed up that Arcanine, like if you hard switch Vaporeon or Dewgong into it, right? Like even if your Dewgong has Surf or whatever else, like you're still taking like a solid 20 on the switch in and then another one and then another one and then you take it out and like now your water type is at 40% and can actually be revenge killed. So like did it really lose that badly? Some might say it didn't actually lose that bad. Or if you bait water types in early to check the fire types and you don't paraslam them on entry, you can go to Venomoth and just get your sleep first despite, you know, supposedly like not having the best matchup because Arcanine doesn't really do that much damage to water types. But that one free hit, that one free paralysis chance is just, it's kind of stupid how far it goes. Because if you get one full para, suddenly you like beat these water types or you get close enough that it's functionally a win.
Yeah, I think Arcanine can definitely still exist in this meta. I'm probably a little biased because I thought it was actually really good in the previous one. I think me and Toxin were the only ones who really believed that. And he at least backed it up by winning like 90% of the games he brought it.
Yeah, I'm more on the wanted side here, where I think it was kind of fraudulent in the previous meta.
One mon that's not on this list that I think should be on there is Magneton. I think this guy's gone worse.
It's a good call out. Golem is obviously the big reason for that, but obviously there's a ton of stuff that he doesn't like.
Like I've seen like people run like just like the, you know, like the tier just was uprooted, so people just ran whatever, like just see what's happening, and they run like stuff like Vaporeon, Kadabra, Mime, and a Magneton on the same team, and like there's like they're up 4 mons, like oh man, how do I beat this Kadabra? You know, like Magneton is kind of like Mime in a way, I feel, where Kadabra is just like a really big thorn in your side, just so many things. Plus the Golem issue is just, it's not something you can write off. The Golem issue is pretty bad.
Yeah, I think like on first glance, it can look pretty nice that it's got 70 speed, which outspeeds Vap. But I actually think like one of the things that Trode has over it really hard is if the opponent has, I don't know, like I don't think Nidoking is going to shake out very well in this tier, but like let's say they have Nidoking, let's say they have Tangela, right? If you are Magneton, you are screwed. There is nothing you can do to these. Electrode, at least you boom them for like an okay chunk that can be revenge killed after. Like after a boom on Tangela, it's in range of stab fire blasts. After a boom on Nidoking, it does 50, and if you crit, you just outright Oko the Nidoking. That Tangela thing, I think, is going to be the more relevant bit of this, definitely in the long term. But like having boom and just having the opportunity to position yourself with boom is such a strong tool that Magneton just does not bring to the table. Booming on the right thing, like if your opponent tries to sacrifice something and gets it wrong, or if you boom on something that can't like stop a setup from Kabutops or Charizard or whatever, like you can just win the game off of a positional boom, even if it doesn't actually kill or do any good damage to anything. And Magneton can't do that.
Like in RBY, boom ends the turn if the opponent hasn't acted yet. In UU, there has been times where I've boomed Electrode on Golem just to make it so it doesn't get a sub. Like boom is such a versatile move that Magneton doesn't have access to.
Last but not least, let's discuss these guys. They are still obviously good mons. They're not top 2 anymore.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't love this idea of just throw the mime in the front, whatever. Like, I get that Kadabra exists, but I do think people are maybe still just underrating how nice it is to have a fast psychic that has T-Bolt as well. I'm not fully convinced of this. I do think it's a role that mime can play, but I do think people just trying to throw it up front and being like fire and forget with it is still not the right role for mime on every team. And I really get annoyed when these new metas like pop up and then people all start doing the same thing with these Pokemon. Cause it's like there's so much other ideas that you could just use this thing for. There's so many other ways you can use these things if you don't use them the same way and you catch people off guard.
Yeah, like one issue I brought up with Mime is that as a lead, sometimes he's really frail. So you click T-Wave turn 1, there's a chance you just like get body slam paired by like Zard, like get crit body slammed, and then you just like lose your Mime and you have to push sleep past 100% Zard. And it's like, ah, that sucks. Like in the back, T-Wave is always good. T-Wave is a good move in the back, and just having another second psychic that can trade T-Waves with Kadabra so you can preserve your own and like go to Golem on the next turn or something. It's just nice.
The roles definitely changed from when Mime was like, this is the guy that you preserve and he will sweep the end game if you remove the things faster than it. It's not that anymore for sure. But I do think it's still a very forcing Pokemon that when you use it in lead, you kind of rob it of that a little bit because so many leads are just faster than it or otherwise have a way to get some huge advantage. Like if they Paraslam it, then that T-Wave turn is just wasted and you win that 1v1 like you said. People could probably be running, I don't even know anymore. Honestly, I'm a bit out of the game. I'm gonna admit that I'm like retiring after this video, but I just think that people jump too quickly to just, put this thing in the lead and throw it away if I don't know what to do with it. And I think mine could probably get more out of itself than that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Lead Mime was terrible in the old meta. Like, people did it occasionally, but I think by the time the end of the meta was approaching, it had mostly died off, and for good reason.
Yeah.
I think all the reasons that you would have preserved your mind before are still valid. It's a better check to things in the back. It is always nice to throw off a T-Wave once you've gotten sleep. You throw off a T-Wave on turn 1, that's a sleep blocker for a long time.
I mean, one thing that it's not doing its role anymore, it's not the dedicated Mr. Mime check anymore. Some teams just
not.
some teams just needed Mime to check itself, but those don't exist anymore.
It is used a lot of the time now just to try and get a pair on Kadabra, which is obviously a good thing to do if you can do it without getting your own Kadabra paralyzed. But they should not be staying in to take the T-Wave most of the time.
Well, the fact they shouldn't be staying in is also part of why having a Mime in the back is a nice thing to have, because nothing wants to come into Mime T-Wave and then take attacks. Like, sure, you can send Golem in, but Golem in unparalyzed Mr. Mime is like playing Psychic Roulette and hoping you get lucky.
Let's talk about Charizard stuff.
The lead set's still gonna stick around, but I feel like in the previous meta, there was a way of playing that you can just like hodl your Charizard in the back till the very end, just like let's hope this guy sweeps, just click SD and just win, hopefully. Like that was it got you pretty far, because a lot of mons just like couldn't deny its setup, like Raticate, for example, or like a Weakened Water. But in the current NU, I just feel like everyone's just so much more bulky that just +2 Hyper Beam just isn't like game ending as often. For me, I feel like the new role that Charizard's destined to is that whenever you get free turns, you get a free turn to let him rip, just like send him out, click SD, break something, because he's very forcing mon, especially the Vaporeon being the de facto the all around water now instead of Blastoise.
Yeah, I think kind of like I'm on the same page as you with this, where like the idea is create asymmetry, right? Like if you use your Charizard to remove the opposing Vaporeon and you lose your Charizard for that because like you take a Surf and then Kadabra comes in and revenge kills you. Like now you have a water and they don't. So now your water can like check Kadabra and then you have a free Kadabra that is no longer like held down by the opposing Kadabra. I think a lot of times the differences between like the mid-level players, the people who do fine in tournaments and the people who keep like winning or going really well in team tours are the ones who are able to create that asymmetry and kind of punish you for ever giving them a free turn, because then they manage to get more out of their Pokemon than you, even by just a little bit, and that means they win more often. So I think that's probably where, like you said, just use it to get one free turn, break one Pokemon, remove one water, and set yourself up to just have the ability to choose your matchups instead of having to take mirror matches and hope you get lucky.
Yeah, I think the real big takeaway of Charizard is that it's no longer the premier win condition of the tier, but it is an excellent trade piece still.
I think one thing that Charizard doesn't like, that kind of precludes it from being like the your trump card at the end of the game is that Golem just like Golem's just way better than Grappler. It's just Golem's just so much better. Like +2 Earthquake just like never KOs. Fire Blast is like 30 max. Just like Golem Golem just man, I love that guy.
Well, there is a flip side to that. If you played NU back like 3-4 years ago, the flip side is Fire Blast Zard. If you burn Golem, you set up for free in its face, and you just are so scary then. Like, if Golem takes a Fire Blast on entry, and you Swords Dance in front of it, that Rock Slide is doing 25% to Zard, which is usually not even range of a Surf afterward. So if you don't have like a Hydro Pump Vaporeon or something that can actually roll that huge number, or like a Hydro Pump Tent, you can just lose. And of course, like Hydro Pump Tent can also just lose the speed tie to Charizard and get Earthquaked. So it kind of is scary in that way, because like, sure, you can stop it by throwing your Kadabra at it and T-waving it, but then 75% of the time you're eating a Hyper Beam in the face at +2 and you've just lost your Kadabra and your Golem is burned. So like, good luck.
I'm radicalized. This is why I like Dewgong. Blizzard does like 80 like minimum, I think, to Charizard, so you can like click the Rock Slide in. I mean, obviously it sucks losing 2 Mons versus Charizard, but if it's the last Mon, I mean, Dewgong's good, guys. Dewgong's good.
Yeah, but this is like one of the things that is very weird about lower tier dynamics is Stab Fire Blast is so scary because of that 30% burn chance in RBY that it kind of just makes fires like this outsized threat even when they shouldn't be. Like Charizard has a lot of reasons it shouldn't be that scary, but the fact that Fire Blast burn on Golem becomes this free setup turn because of the reapplication glitch in RBY means that like that's just one more way you can just immediately lose the game, is having a physical attacker versus Charizard and getting burned.
Yeah,
so I think it still has that going for it, even if it doesn't win the game most of the time anymore. Like, don't hard Golem into Charizard.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that one.
My not so hot take on the future of the tier is that sort of as back Charizard goes, the tier goes. If Charizard is a huge threat in the back with SD, then the tier is not going to be as defensive. It's going to be an offensive tier still. If Charizard isn't that great in the back, if it can only fit on certain teams and in certain spots, then the more defensive play is going to be able to hang around.
I think another thing to note is that Tentacruel kind of might also be another guy like that. Might be another Mon.
Yeah, it's kind of funny that a second fast Swords Dancer has hit the tier at this point, and for some reason, like, that doesn't seem that scary anymore because it does seem like there's more ways to answer these things. But I do think new people playing the tier are going to get tripped up by that, and they are going to lose a lot of games to hard switching into Tentacruel or Charizard and giving it a free Swords Dance, and then they get to click another one and they go to +4, and all of a sudden, like, oh god, what do I do?
All right, then. That wraps it up for us here at The Nut. Thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you to Sablette and Wanted for joining and sharing your thoughts on the tier. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more nuts. Have a great day, everybody.